Spin a fan. Hey, yo! So, what's something?
Goku wants to die. We're back with another solid
2.5 years later, 9 episodes later, one of indie animation's greatest successes of all time is over. And even as someone who watched the movie 2 weeks ago, I still don't really know what to do with myself other than, deplete myself of oxygen until I'm physically incapable of talking about the show again. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but pre-movie release, I didn't get spoiled on anything despite all the leaks making their rounds across social media. So if you're someone who didn't...
Oh, what's up, Mr. Rat? How's it going?
See the movie and went this whole time without getting spoiled until the YouTube release, good for you, honestly. Give yourself a pat on the back. I will say I do have some of my gripes with the finale. If you're a Kinger fan like myself, you more than likely walked out of that finale feeling like he didn't get nearly enough screen time. Kaufmo's cool and all, Aaron Hansen, very fitting voice, but that brother shouldn't be getting more screen time than Kinger in my opinion. Even then, I still think it's a very solid conclusion to the story overall. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't really understand how people thought this ending was like legitimately terrible, irredeemable for the show. It's hard to say if we'll ever get any more digital circus content after this, especially with how Gooseworks has expressed herself about more content after the finale due to its fandom not being normal. But even then, I personally wouldn't even care that much since the ending felt like it wrapped up enough plot points, so I wouldn't be, fiending for more content necessarily. It's not like the Owl House where season 3 had to be cut down hardcore, so myself and many others were hoping more content would come even after the finale, which worked out because the graphic novel is about to be some heat. Apologies for the bit of rambling, but as my opener for the finale, I'm just going to be delving into the events of the ending and, future videos or YouTube shorts will likely delve into more specific topics / character moments from the finale. I also wanted to do a video ranking all the NPCs we've seen, so, be on the lookout for that too. To not my surprise, episode 9 picks up right after episode 8 ended. Kane is presumed dead, the circus tent is crumbling down, and everyone is freaking out, wondering what to do next. Jax is especially pissed at Kinger for deleting Kane despite him not trying to do so, and gets even angrier that the rest of the gang isn't as pissed at Kinger as him. Jax, you're a funny guy. His mistakes and your mistakes are not on equal footing. Around this time, Kinger is able to remember the other thing Scratch was working on at CNA, a functioning brain scanner, which confirmed one of the biggest and longest fan theories in the entire series. I'm sure there's going to be a smaller group of people who don't like this revelation, wishing the characters actually would have gotten the opportunity to escape, especially when we've,
But yet again, if they were still alive, wouldn't they die by then? Because they put on VR headsets, so... Unless someone found them. Well, they would be dead no matter... Unless they put them in, like, a tube, like... With the thing with Abel. But I don't think that would happen.
These heartfelt vent sessions between the characters about the goals they wanted to achieve in their human lives that they can't anymore, the brain scanner almost working too well at that point, but the idea of escaping was never the point the show was going for. I can see why people would have thought that if they only watched the pilot. Hell, back then I thought it could go that way too, but episodes 2 and especially 3 really solidify it's about the characters and their dynamics with one another, making the best of what they can in a place they can never leave, and being there for one another because, like Kinger said, not being there for someone is the worst thing you can do in this place. So this revelation basically confirming these guys aren't going to be escaping by the end of the episode didn't really bother me too much, because I already kind of expected it to be the case and got to a point over time where I preferred it to be that way for the story's sake. So everyone, except for Jax, who wanders off on his own for a bit, tries to uplift each other as best they can. They're still struggling to hold it together, but they're, doing it nonetheless. Kinger in particular is taking the initiative of rebuilding parts of the circus tent, as he's the one who's got the most experience with conjuring assets from nothing besides Kane. Pomni wants to help, but is struggling to conjure shapes at first, but slowly gets the hang of it. The same with Zubul, Gangle, and Ragatha too. I like how everything we see them conjure are simple shapes for a bit. It feels like a light callback to Kane's origin, where he was being fed a bunch of information through pictures of different real-world things and used that to conjure simple shapes. Kinger and the rest of them literally altering the code in the same way Kane was now that Kane isn't around. I like that. But what I didn't like that much was this was basically the last we saw of Kinger for the remainder of the finale. I don't want to sound like one of those insane fans who crashed out because Jax and Pomni are considered the main characters. At the same time, though, I feel like this finale could have used a bit of a longer runtime to give Kinger, Zubul, Gangle, and Ragatha some more time in the sun. Ragatha did have that nice moment with Pomni about how much they value each other's friendship. Seeing Pomni acknowledge Ragatha so highly like that was very nice and almost felt overdue. As while they were never on bad terms, Ragatha for a while couldn't understand why Pomni wasn't as receptive.
I hate how like everyone forgave Jax. It's just so crazy to me.
Reached out as she hoped, but it was one of those things where she was trying a bit too hard and never really gave Pomni a chance to have a proper meltdown moment of, yeah, I'm trapped here forever, let me out, this is not a dance. And mainly because Ragatha and the rest of the guys had already become much more accustomed to the circus since they'd been there for years at this point. Like Pomni's conversations with Gummigoo and Kinger especially really helped with her coping process being faster than previous circus members. That and just her...
What's up, Graham Jake? What's up, Graham Jake? Hello.
General
What's up, Graham Jake?
Look on life itself, being an incredibly empathetic person down to her core. I don't think anyone else in the circus would have been able to tell.
Sorry. Am I good? I am a bit sick. Like a bad cough and I have a headache. So, how are you?
Maybe Kinger could have, even if Gummigoo did explode by the end of the episode. So while this moment between she and Ragatha was very nice as the two of them did get a lot closer after episode 6, I think it's one of those things where it would have hit a lot harder for me if Pomni had one of those real 1v1 therapy-esque sessions with Ragatha like she did with Kinger and Gummigoo. Those two ladies never really had that. Of course, they've talked one-on-one, but none of their conversations felt like it had the same amount of oomph behind it as Pomni and Kinger's, Pomni and Gummigoo's, and even Ragatha and Kinger's for that matter. Yeah, Kinger really is the undisputed MVP across the board, huh? Obviously, it was great seeing Ragatha's efforts appreciated so much, even when the circus is in its worst possible state. I just think the setup for this payoff could have been better in hindsight. As everyone is slowly getting the hang of their conjuring powers, Jax at one point looks like he wants to come back to help everyone, but of course, like the many other times where he looks like he might show some genuine emotion or positive care towards something, he backs out last minute. With Pomni narrating how she wishes she said more to him in this moment. As yeah, Jax abstracts right after this. Off screen, mind you.
God damn it. God damn it.
In a world that moves quickly, we believe slow should be made slow.
That's what I don't like about Jax.
I don't know if this is just me, but when I was watching this scene in
Because
theaters and it jump cut to
when we
Jax's
first see
abstraction
him,
running around, I initially thought this
it
was
looks like he's
Cosmo
in
or
his
one of the
final
older
form.
characters, until it was either, I think, Zubul or
Then
Ragatha said
we,
Jax's
till
name.
end of
I
the
could see the
series,
pacing of the sequels
he changes a
possibly
bit.
bothering some people, like
But
the fact that the show never showed what a full abstraction
he just
process
gets
looked
more
like for someone.
depressed,
Episode
and that's
7
about
did
it.
give us an idea of what goes on in the person's head when they're on the verge, but not the outside. It was still crazy to see Jax abstract, don't get me wrong, even in spite of his, many wrongdoings. It just felt a bit anticlimactic in a way. So now with Jax on the loose, Pomni figures the least she can do is try to contain him in a darker area, to give him at least a bit of ease of mind. As we saw with Queenie and Kinger's flashback, the abstracted characters aren't violent if they're in darker places. I imagine that's why Kane puts them all in a dark cellar. By the way, when Pomni grabbed that gun, I know for a fact I'm not the only one who thought she was going to shoot Jax's abstraction as a just-in-case form of self-defense. But as we see, she used it to destroy the light bulbs in the hallway with everyone's room so it'd be darker. Maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but Pomni using this revolver as a way to reach Jax felt like a little bit of a callback or full circle moment to what happened in episode 6. As well, things ended on weird terms between them by the end of that episode. The gun game was still the one and only time those two actually, enjoyed each other's company. No matter how many times Jax tried to deny it back then, Pomni slowly approaches him and directly touches him, causing her to enter what can only be described as Jax's mindscape, with a bunch of different rooms that highlight how he supposedly feels about the other circus members. The different facades Jax put on to hide his true feelings, and the tragic tale between he and Ribbon. An abstraction that continued to haunt him during his final moments, and was one of the main reasons he succumbed to abstraction too. The room about Ragatha...
If someone's favorite character from the Amazing Digital Circus is Jax, you just know they'll do something horrible, then blame it on like their alter ego or something. I have a friend just like that. Well, kind of. Not really. I don't even think we're friends per se.
was the first one Pomni went inside, showing Jax standing outside Ragatha's room with an X on her picture, implying this was how Jax would allegedly react if Ragatha were to abstract. Silently smiling while strangling Pomni, as I guess this version of Jax is blaming her for what happened to this hypothetical version of Ragatha. Gangle's door was like a throwback to episode 4, as Gangle was wearing that other happy mask trying to organize an abstraction funeral for Zubul, but Jax, being Jax, purposely wore the maid outfit from episode 5 to mess with her, even going as far as to invite her back to his room to fool around. When I tell you my whole theater was shook during this scene, it was like when Quagmire was watching that tape of Lois in church. The Zubul door is straight up a Wile E. Coyote reference, or maybe, general Looney Tunes, since Jax is rabbit like bugs. I don't know. Zubul was chasing. I'm not gonna lie.
Hello.
Every significant moment he's experienced since arriving at the circus. Ribbit, Kaufmo, Ragatha, and Kinger were all on stage the day Jax showed up. Naturally, he was freaked out and found his new rabbit appearance stupid looking, but over time, he'd begin to grow quite close with Ribbit and Kaufmo. I immediately clocked Kaufmo as Aaron Hansen. His normal speaking voice fits surprisingly well for this guy. I'm sorry to all the Jack Black believers out there. One day, Jax and Ribbit have a legitimate conversation in Ribbit's room, serving as the one and only time Jax ever opens up to anyone about his past and feelings about himself. Ribbit tells him she came from a strict Mormon household and didn't agree with her parents' beliefs, but despite all that, she still cared for her parents deep down. Her venting was enough to get Jax to open up for once, telling Ribbit how he was homeless right before he got trapped in the circus, on top of not having the best relationship with his parents during his high school years. His dad was never proud of him, and one day his parents got divorced. The mental toll of losing her husband caused even more strain between the mom and Jax, taking out a lot of her frustrations on him, which adds even more fuel to the Ragatha-Jax two sides of the same coin dynamic.
Yo, what's up? Hello, what's up, number love?
He and his mom got into a really big argument when he confessed something to her, something that not only made her lash out even harder at him than normal, but laughed at him too. This reaction caused Jax to shove his mom with enough force where she wasn't getting back up. Horrified by what he did, Jax would run away from home and live on the streets until the day his brain was scanned into Kane's world. We get another callback to episode 7 with this revelation too, as the flashing images of human Jax running through the street was from the day he shoved his mom down. Adding more context to that whole scene, even though Jax didn't necessarily love being in the circus, he'd rather stay there than face the consequences of his past. Whether it was the possibility of being caught by the feds if his mom actually passed away from that, or simply terrified to face his mom again. But based on Ribbit saying there's a high chance his mom is fine because the feds never caught him, the show seems to, be leaning towards the latter possibility. To add on to the, viewer interpretation of the scene, the general consensus seems to be one of two things. Either the scene was an allegory for Jax being a trans woman, or just having a very fragile masculinity. As Jax confessing to his mother about his identity would make sense for her to have a reaction like that. Not all parents will be supportive of their children identifying that way. It's as if she went through, several stages of grief after she heard it. Hence the, berating followed by laughing. Also Ribbit putting that bow in his ears, that made him blush. The subtext was never said out loud, but there is pretty compelling evidence that this could be the case. If Goose were to reveal otherwise in a Q&A or something, that's fine too. But I am quite certain the absolute bare minimum is that day with his mom caused him to develop a severe case of, insecure masculinity. or not, being seen as man enough, feeling like if he's too open with others, maybe ladies, it could somehow lead to another situation where someone he cares about treats him the same way as his mom did that day. I feel like that's why he freaked out and started to push Ribbit away when Kaufmo specifically knocked on the door when they were all still talking. He's a dude, and the other person he grew closest with at the time. Jax cannot handle rejection or when his true feelings aren't taken seriously, hence the insane projection towards other circus members. I feel like that's why he didn't have a dedicated room for Kinger, but maybe I'm wrong. This adds more weight and context to his nightmare sequence from episode 8 too. Even before episode 9, we always knew Jax was the type of person who could dish it out but couldn't take it, but with what we know about his mom now, it makes so much more sense. So TLDR, even if Jax being trans was not the intent, at the very least the show was going for the angle of him not feeling manly enough and or, comfortable enough in his own skin. Hence putting on all these fake personas of dickheadery. Because being vulnerable is horrible, apparently. From this point on, Jax would continue to push Ribbit away gradually, like not wanting to team up with her in adventures, pretending like their conversations about families never even happened, or faking conversations with others to make it harder for her to join in. She had gotten to a point where she felt so isolated and wronged from what Jax was doing, which led to the day of the snowy adventure. Ribbit would confront Jax about his behavior, and man, this whole interaction mirrored the one between him and Pomni from episode 6, almost down to a T. Jax gets close with someone, pushes them away when he starts to feel too comfortable out of fear, and doesn't stop until they hate him to a degree or break completely. This, of course, led to Ribbit's abstraction. There were points where Jax did seem like he was actually going to check up on Ribbit, but never did, constantly fighting those demons and losing. Another nice callback to the pilot here, as during it, Jax was acting like he couldn't care less about Kaufmo abstracting, when that...
because my mom will let me skip Friday. Oh, nice.
Have been further from the truth as he's over here bawling his eyes out on his way to meet up with Kinger and Gangle. Did all these revelations make me personally feel bad for Jax, though? I mean, kind of. That's the thing with him. Wanting to pretend that nothing is real and you don't want to get too close to people, then sure. But the problem is he would go out of his way over and over again to fuck with people who were just minding their own business. Like, this episode is very clearly trying to garner at least a little bit of sympathy out of the viewers towards Jax with how much time was spent on his backstory.
That's what I'm saying.
Succeed at least a little bit for me. But high-key, I was more sad for Pomni being sad to see Jax go, if that makes sense. At least the two of them got to say goodbye on good terms, though. That was sweet.
Would you get out of here?
This was followed by Pomni almost getting corrupted by Jax's abstraction the same way Ragatha was in the pilot by Kaufmo, but she was saved just in time by Zubul and the rest of the gang. I took this as maybe a double callback to both the pilot and episode 2, someone getting corrupted by an abstraction again, and Pomni feeling at ease during Kaufmo's funeral. She was really struggling to hold it together in episode 2, especially after Gummy Goo's death, but that extra sense of community these guys built gave her a tiny bit of hope. Like, yeah, I don't really know these guys super well yet, but I like what they got going on here, and that helps at least. They were metaphorically saving her from the mental abyss, and in the finale, they, kind of do it literally.
Keeping payments low, secure, and affordable. It's the F-Boss way.
Like Hoodie Dude, but worse. It never ends, I'm telling you.
So he's back, just in the void now, though. Kane was presumed to be deleted by Kanger in the last episode, so the fact that he's still lurking in the void might confirm a mini-theory I had about the void. It's basically a giant recycling bin that you see on run-of-the-mill computers. A program is deleted...
I think my school year is about 200 days. Nice.
In name, but not gone from the computer forever until the contents inside the bin are emptied. At first, Kane is left to just, wallow in his own thoughts about everything that's happened and what he did to the circus members, struggling against himself on whether he should go back and apologize for it all or double down. I mean that literally, because the version of him who thought he was God kept telling the softer side that the humans deserve an even worse fate for daring to delete him, when suddenly, Kane sees a door in the distance that would allow him to connect to a local cafe's Wi-Fi once reaching it. Trying his best to climb towards it and breaking through the invisible walls, or I guess firewalls in the process, Kane's capabilities as an AI felt like they were evolving here, both physically and mentally. Now he's creating more traditional shapes again as a staircase to reach his goal instead of the erratic ones from episode 8. On top of removing the blue half from his code, like the able, if you will. Lots to unpack from this one. As of writing this video, there's not, flat-out confirmation that this was actually Bubble the whole time. That was a popular fan theory for a while, but in this scene, there's no surefire way of knowing because the blue half didn't come to life or anything. It's also interesting how removing the blue half made Kane less unhinged, but I guess it's one of those things where the two of them were never meant to fuse together at all. Like, the red half was already seen as a failure, so when it took over Blue, it didn't balance anything out. It just made the final Kane product more unstable than he ever was. So having him let go of that part of him was
He's doing a
essentially showing
hollow
how he doesn't need things to be done his way all the time.
It's
This
not
and,
really
seeing all
purple.
the social media posts from humans. Kane was evolving in real time to not only better himself, but appreciating how humans operate, specifically their free will. That's what makes them so unique, and he didn't really let any of the circus members have free will, even if they were just brain scans. He sort of tried in episode 4 with Gangle's adventure, then his insecurities about them not liking the adventures he picks out took over again, reaching that boiling point in episode 8. I will say a portion from this section that did confuse me initially was Kane dragging Scratch, or I guess Mike Dobby's brain scan into the circus. Similar to the Jax abstraction transition, I was in the theater like, oh, is Scratch back now? What the hell is going on? And then he never showed up in the present when we cut back to the circus. So I guess all that was a mini flashback of the day Kane created the circus. I'm sure I'm not the only one who found this a bit strange at first, right? We then cut back to Kane spying on the remaining circus members. The circus seems to have been mostly rebuilt thanks to everyone's efforts, while Kane is still nervous about approaching them, yet is able to muster up the courage to face his actions for what he's done. By not only apologizing for everything, but to make up for it all, he's going to give complete control over to those guys. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want now. Zubul is especially hesitant about all this. They always never really liked Kane. However, they ended up agreeing to this deal anyway. I'm gonna keep my thoughts on Kane's little redemption here a bit brief, as I wanted to make some kind of dedicated video about it at some point. So for now, I'm just gonna say it was a bit fast for my liking. I don't hate how Kane came back, just the way he was allowed to come back so quickly into these guys' lives, it was a bit for me. As one last thank you / sorry for everything Kane did, he plays a short film showing the current lives of all the circus members' counterparts. Pomni, aka Abigail Brooks, is still enjoying her time exploring abandoned buildings for YouTube content. Ragatha, aka Susie J. Ackerman, has a thriving real estate career and rides horseback on the side. Gangle, aka Zoe Ragavan, quit her day job to pursue art full-time, garnering a very solid following on social media. Kinger, aka Grant Best, is still thriving in the computer science world, happily married to his Queenie counterpart Ann Best, and is the father of 2 lovely girls. Zubul, aka Riley Vercellus, would open her own bar dubbed the Triangle Bar. This place became popular enough to where people like Susie went there for hours to chill, where finally Jax, aka Leroy Mateo, found some stability in his life, getting hired as a delivery driver, and also likes to chill at the Triangle Bar during free time. On one hand, it's cool how the circus versions of these characters at least got some kind of update on their human selves, but at the same time, I can see why it comes off as a bit cliche, like, oh, every single one of them is living their, perfect ideal lives they wanted before the brain scans happen. I don't hate this story choice, although I think I might have liked it more if they kept it more ambiguous, as the final scenes of the episode show a montage of everyone, genuinely enjoying their time at the circus for the first time, Kane included in all the activities too, but then it cuts to all the human versions waiting at a bus stop together and driving off. Keeping the bus scene in would have been totally fine for me, so it's like, okay, we know what everyone looks like, but that sense of mystery of how their lives are going remains, if that makes sense. All in all, I think the finale was mostly successful at delivering a send-off for these characters and their stories. Far from perfect, but not so egregious where I think the entire series is ruined off of this one episode. As it stands on its own, this episode did feel like it was on the weaker side compared to others. If episode 3 and 6, which are 2 of my personal favorites, are, 9s or 10s, then the finale is like a 7, 7.5. Which is not bad, by the way. I feel like I need to clear that up just in case, because parts of the internet have been brainwashed into thinking 7 out of 10s are bad scores. I'm obviously sad to see this show go. The impact it had on indie animation needs to be studied, and maybe I will do just that. I love me some history. As always, let me know what you guys thought about this finale in the comments below. Just keep the, discussion respectful, Like, subscribe, all that good jazz. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care.
Alright, nice. Alright, see you guys. Well, after I'll show who made it. VG Marcus. Yeah, he made it. Look at my edit. Oh no, you already said that. No, yeah, he already said it. It's because I swiped out. Alright, I'm gonna end stream here. You made a very good video. Sub to this guy. I'm probably gonna delete the stream anyway. So, and so all the evidence is gone.